2018 college football season begins on ESPN+. We welcome you to Paulson Stadium on the beautiful campus of Georgia Southern University in Statesboro as the Eagles start up a crucial season against the Bulldogs of South Carolina State. Since their rebirth in the 1980s, Georgia Southern has been one of the premier mid-major college football programs in America. But 2018 is the dawn of a new era, the Chad Lunsford era. Since the longtime assistant was given the reins, his true blue personality has re-energized Eagle Nation, and today begins what Statesboro hopes is the start of a climb back to the top. You're watching the Sun Belt Conference on ESPN. Today, from the prettiest little stadium in America, it's the 2018 season opener for the Bulldogs and the Eagles. And with that, we welcome you to a brand new season of college football here on ESPN Plus. Alongside Danny Waugh, I'm Greg Talbot. Well, Danny, there is so much optimism, so much positivity surrounding this Georgia Southern program right now. Probably the most there has been since the end of the Willie Fritz era a couple of years ago. But if Chad Lunsford and his brand new staff want to keep that going in 2018, they've got to get a win against a pretty low-level FCS opponent in South Carolina State tonight.
Absolutely. Well, Chad Lunsford already has the support of Georgia Southern after he was officially announced as the full-time coach for Georgia Southern. So expect him to be very well in his first game against South Carolina State.
All right, let's take a look at some of the defensive players to watch, especially with this South Carolina State defense. This is a unit that last year led the MEAC in defensive stops. So, Danny, they're going to be looking at the linebacker today.
Yeah, they're going to look like Kendrick Gathers for sure. Gathers will probably be the leader on the defense this season after South Carolina State lost their top three tacklers, including 2017 MEAC Defensive Player of the Year in Darius Leonard.
So that's the defense. Now let's talk about offense. If you know Georgia Southern, you know this team's identity for decades now has been all about the offense. And lucky for them in 2018, Danny, they're bringing back their leading rusher in Wesley Fields.
It's all about the running game as well for Georgia Southern. Expect Wesley Fields to do very great things. We'll see how much he gets to play today since he's coming off an off-season shoulder surgery, but it's going to be an exciting time for week one.
We'll find out his status on the first drive for Georgia Southern. So it's the Bulldogs and the Eagles. 2018 kickoff is just minutes away here on ESPN+. And welcome back to ESPN Plus's coverage of the 2018 season opener here from Statesboro. It is the dawn of the Chad Lunsford era for Georgia Southern. And Danny, I'll tell you, it has been years since there's been a program that has had a new coach who so closely mirrors their identity.
Yeah, Chad Lunsford is definitely a player's coach. He was the interim coach midway through the 2017 season, picked up a 2-4 record. So now we'll see what he can do here for his first full season in 2018.
And on the sideline for South Carolina State, Buddy Pugh is in his 17th season coaching the Bulldogs, although he's got an 0-3 record so far against the Eagles all time.
And you see that record, 120 wins, 64 losses. He needs 9 wins to become the all-time winningest coach in South Carolina State history.
So back to kick it away for Georgia Southern to begin this season is Tyler Bass, the redshirt junior. And Tyshawn Baines back the deep man to receive for South Carolina State. It's a new era in Statesboro, and it's underway on ESPN+. Bass puts it deep into the end zone. It is off the hands of the returner, and they will take it from the 20-yard line. All right, Danny, so we have a couple new rules in college football. We'll talk about it later on in the broadcast. No fair catch there because it went into the end zone, but for folks who are tuning in for the first time this year, we are going to see fair catches taken from inside the 25 go out to the 25, and now we will see the South Carolina State offense for the first time. They are led by Tyrese Nick, this sophomore quarterback out of Johnston, South Carolina. He's a home state kid.
He's getting the starting role for today's game. Only played 4 games last season, only completed 3 of 8 passes for 27 yards. He beat out DeJuan Ford Jr., who had a shaky 2017. So we'll see what Nick can do here in the first series.
And he's flanked to the backfield by Datron James, one of their 3 running backs, as Austin Ruger goes in motion. And the first play of the 2018 season is a handoff to James. He gets back to the line of scrimmage and nothing else doing.
Already getting a look at what this new 3-4 defense is going to do for Georgia Southern, led by defensive coordinator Scott Sloan in his first season for the Eagles.
And Jay Boundary in on the tackle. Let's take a look at this Georgia Southern defense. And this is the unit compared to their offense that has so much more experience coming back. On 2nd down and 10, Tyrese Nick, the starting quarterback, looking for an adjustment at the line of scrimmage. Still flanked by James in the backfield. On 2nd and 10, he'll look to throw for the first time this season, but he's being chased down. Stays on his feet, gets a gain of maybe 1 yard on the play. And that'll bring up 3rd down pretty long.
Rashad Byrd, the redshirt sophomore from North Augusta, on the tackle. He had 44 tackles last season, 2 for loss.
So we'll see what Tyrese Nick is able to do here with his starting offense as you see it here for South Carolina State. They do bring back a handful of experienced players at the wide receiver spot, including number 1, DeMontez Burrows. We might see him throw to here. Burrows lined up at the top of the screen, the lone wide receiver on the far side. And on 3rd down, he'll look to throw over the middle and off the hands of Will Vereen. That pass incomplete. They go 3 and out, and that'll bring up 4th down for the first time this season.
A little bit too high of a pass from Tyrese Nick to Will Vereen, the redshirt freshman. But nonetheless, a 3 and out, and Georgia Southern will get the punt return. And Wesley Kennedy went back to return for the Eagles.
And great coverage that time by Josh Moon, the senior safety. He is the anchor of that secondary, and preseason first team All Sun Belt Conference. We'll be talking about him a lot this year. So back to receive for the Eagles, Wes Kennedy. Kick is away from the 15, and the Benedictine graduate will take it from the 36-yard line. And here comes Wes, up to the 49-yard line before he's taken down, and we will see this Georgia Southern offense now for the first time in 2018, Danny, and this team unquestionably belongs right now to Shai Werts.
And Shai Werts was a little bit uncomfortable in the spring, trying to understand the new gun pistol option, but he now has a better understanding, and he will be taking charge here for this offense of Georgia Southern.
Shai had a historic freshman year, set the school records for total passing yards and total offensive yards by a freshman quarterback. Went for 1,650 overall and passed for about 930 through the air. And on the first play of the offensive season for them, they give it right up the middle to Wesley Fields, their returning leading rusher from last season. Maybe a gain of 1 on the play.
You said at the top of the broadcast, Greg, we'll see how often we'll see Wesley Fields on the field after his offseason shoulder surgery. And look at the rest of the Georgia Southern offense for tonight.
We do have a couple late additions. We just found out prior to the game that Obi Fortune will actually be starting at wide receiver, although that was not the case earlier in the week. On 2nd and long, Kennedy the motion man. Up the middle again they go. It's again Fields for the 2nd time. He bounces up toward the 41-yard line. If he didn't get the first down, he's going to be awfully close with Chris Adams making the tackle.
Fields was a key part of the Eagle offense last season. 173 rushes, 811 yards, 5 touchdowns. Also had 11 receptions, 71 yards, and a receiving touchdown as well.
So it's going to be 3rd down and 1 for Southern. This is a team that really had terrible luck early in the season last year on 3rd down, but really matured into themselves and got better in short situations as the year went on. Ellis Richardson in motion, and for the first time this year, they go to Monteo Garrett, but he is absolutely smothered in the backfield. That'll bring up 4th down, and Roderick Perry blew him up.
Garrett ran into a wall, and Rod Perry, big 6'2", 310-pound redshirt junior.
Woof.
And now on 4th down, it seems like the Eagles are going to go for it.
Chad Lunsford has made his bones with this fan base all season on being bold. And let's see if they can convert on 4th down and a long one. Werts will get the play off. He's going to keep it himself. Dives forward. It looks like he got it by about a half yard, but we'll see what the referees mark it. It was Jalen Evans on the tackle. This is going to be very close.
That play was almost broken up, and it seems like the ball will be just at the 40, so it will be a 1st down for the Eagles.
And they get it by about a half yard. And Chad Lunsford, like we said, has told his team all season long, be Georgia Southern men, be bold, do not be afraid to go for it, and take the narrative and the energy of this program back.
gotta love to see the confidence on their first drive of the season. And we have whistles in. And South Carolina State will take a timeout right after the first series of the year for Georgia Southern. And we will take the timeout with them here on ESPN+. Georgia Southern converts. They'll continue the drive right after this. Our mistake early in the season. We will not be going to a break after all here on ESPN+. Greg Talbot and Danny Wall with you here. As we said, Danny, you gotta love the confidence with Chad Lunsford there.
Well, he said earlier this week, heading into this game, that this team is going to go in this game like it's the Super Bowl. Last season was not the best season for them, a 2-10 record in 2017. They want to change things around this year.
That was one of the interesting things you and I talked with Chad Lunsford about early in the weekend leading up to this week 1 game. We said, well, you know, South Carolina State is a team last year that lost to Savannah State. And if you're from the area, you know what that means. Savannah State is a team that's shortly dropping to D2 after this year. And he said, no, Danny, no, Greg, that's not the case. We went 2-10 last year. We are going to play our players throughout this game because, let's be honest, again, not only was it a 2-10 team last season, Georgia Southern is also a team that is bringing in new offensive coordinators, new defensive coordinators, an entirely new staff. So this is a team that's implementing new schemes and has a lot of growing to do. So they really want to use this entire game as a growing experience.
Absolutely. There you see on the replay with Shy Wards, just able to get across for the first down. The first season for offensive coordinator Bob the Best, and he said he's anxious to see how his players are going to answer to adversity here in this first game of the year. And Coach the Best has a lot of experience, been in multiple places, just got off a 6-year stint at New Mexico with the Lobos as the offensive coordinator and the wide receivers and quarterbacks coach.
So that's on the offensive side of the ball. On the defensive side of the ball, I would say actually, Danny, even bigger changes. Scott Sloan used to be a coach at Georgia Southern. Most recently, he was the co-defensive coordinator up at rival Appalachian State. He and Chad are longtime friends. Chad brought him back down to run the defense. Also brought a new 3-4 defense with him. And when Southern gets back on defense, we will talk about the changes that has meant to this defensive unit. So after converting on 4th down on their first series of the year, Georgia Southern will march back out here with 10:55 to go in the first quarter. Thank you so much for joining us for week 1 of college football here on ESPN+. And here comes Southern. Colby Ransom, the lone wide receiver, down to the bottom of your screen. He's split out wide. And Obi Fortune at the top of your screen, the number 2 receiver from the 2017 squad. Full house backfield for the Eagles here on first down and 10, and Shai Wertz is sacked in the backfield. Play is blown up by Cliff Benjamin. Rather, Leighton Jones.
By the South Carolina State defense as it was a fake handoff to Wesley Fields, and they were able to detect Shai Wertz trying to get the ball out quickly, but was taken back for a loss of 3.
Yeah, the really impressive thing about that play was just how patient the outside blitzing linebackers and defensive ends were. All right, after the loss of 3, we're looking at 2nd down and 13 now for Southern. Might have to see Wertz go to the air. And they'll try to make up some ground. Slings it near side to Wes Kennedy. We saw him on a kick return already. This time he's down inside the 35, and that'll bring up 3rd down and 5 yards.
Wes Kennedy is a guy you're going to look out for Georgia Southern. He's quick and explosive. Needs some game time here this season, and he can make people miss if you give the ball to him in space.
Certainly primed for a breakout season. We saw him become a star late in the season last year in that rivalry game against Georgia State, and all season long on the message boards, in the newspaper, on the radio stations, everyone was excited to see what Wes Kennedy can do. 3rd down and 5 now for Southern. Ellis Richardson in motion. Nobody jumped on the line, and Shai Wertz again is gobbled up in the backfield and taken down by Damu Ford, and that'll bring up 4th down again.
Redshirt senior Ford, 5'11", 240 pounds, had 29 tackles last season, 7 tackles for loss, and he has his first one of the season, breaking up that play for Georgia Southern.
the patience by this Bulldogs defense is really impressive here so early in this game against frankly an option system that most teams are not used to seeing. And once again for the second try in this drive, they'll go for it on 4th down. Ransom split to the top of the screen. Shai Werts will kick it away, tried to catch him. This will bounce, and it looks like it gets into the end zone instead, and that'll go all the way out to the 20-yard line. And that'll take us to a timeout. We'll take it with him this time on ESPN Plus. 1 4th down conversion, but not a second for the Eagles. Still scoreless halfway through the first quarter. Both defenses really impressive right off the top, and as South Carolina State takes over for their second drive of the year, Danny, let's take a look at their impact players.
We see the Montez Burrows and LeBron Morris on the offense, Cordell Brown and Chris Adams on the defense, and we'll see what Morris can do and Burrows here on the offensive drive for South Carolina State.
This is Tyree Snick, the sophomore quarterback, handing off to James as he tries to cut to the outside, picks up a gain of maybe 3 yards on the first play of the drive, and in on the tackle that time, Ian Bush. Okay, so Tyree Snick, one of the interesting players on this team. The quarterback battle as they enter the 2018 season, Danny, not even entirely settled. They also have a true freshman, Corey Fields, the starter from last year, DeJuan Ford in the quarterback rotation as well. So although it's Nick here, he might not be the only one we see today. High snap on second down. Again, they give to James, but this time he's blown up in the backfield by Raymond Johnson III.
Raymond Johnson, expect a big breakout season for him. Over the offseason, he gained a lot of muscle, went from about 230 to, even though he's listed now at 240, he even said he's almost at 250.
The defensive ends on both sides so far, Danny, really impressive early on.
Absolutely. Johnson had 36 tackles last year, 6 for a loss. His first for loss here this season.
3rd down and 8. Nick 0 for 1 through the air so far. We hear whistles come in. And it looks like South Carolina State called a timeout. They want another second to go ahead and figure out exactly what it is they want to do. All right, 3rd down and 8 here for South Carolina State as Tyree Snick looks to go to the air. He's going to keep it on the ground here past the 25-yard line, but he'll get knocked down by Kendall Vildor, and once again the Eagles will force a 4th down.
Good stop there by Vildor, the junior from College Park, Georgia. Another 3 and out for South Carolina State in their second drive.
So unsurprising that the offenses are taking a little while to get going here, and we'll talk about that more on this next Georgia Southern drive, Danny. But once again, we will see Wes Kennedy from Savannah, Georgia, back to receive. He's at the Eagle 37-yard line. Kick is away, not a lot of pressure. And here comes Wes from the 30. He's got a little space past the 50 down to the opposing 42-yard line. And like we said, Danny, this kid is primed for a breakout season. And even though he doesn't come from a Georgia Southern family, you've got to absolutely love his track record and why he chose this program. Not only is he a guy that is from the area, grew up watching Eagle football, but even more. On first down, Shai Werts will pitch, and the play blown up in the backfield down at the 44-yard line. Once again, they went to Wesley Fields to begin the second drive, and he's tackled for a loss of 2.
Jaden Brunson, the true freshman from Blythewood, South Carolina, on the tackle, able to stop Wesley Fields in the backfield.
So Shai Werts, quarterback in his offense for Georgia Southern, 1 for 1 through the air so far on that first drive. Completed a pass for 8 yards. But one thing you know about this team is, as it's been for multiple decades here at Southern, if they can run, they would rather run. But Shai Werts certainly has a good arm on him. We're going to see him throw here if he can. Instead, he will tuck and run. Shies up to the 35-yard line and taken down on a shoestring tackle that time by Chad Gilchrist, the linebacker.
Gilchrist able to trip him up at the very end. Redshirt sophomore from Johnson, South Carolina. Wirtz was able to get a couple of yards ahead, and now it's third down.
So now we're looking down at 3rd down and 3 yards with Logan Wright, the redshirt freshman at number 3 running back, trotting onto the field. Wouldn't be surprised to see him go to him pretty early on in this game. Been one of the great surprises of fall camp as Obi Fortune sprints out to the bottom of your screen. On 3rd and short, they will run the option. Wirtz on his feet. He picks up the first down, and he's down to the 26-yard line before he's pushed out of bounds, and that'll move the chains.
When you're running that option, it's all about the eyes of the quarterback. Looking at the defense, tempting whether he's going to pitch it back or not. And Wirtz was able to hold on to and get the first down for the Eagles.
Shy coming out of high school is ranked the number 60 dual threat quarterback in the country. Coming out of Newberry High School up in South Carolina. And like you said, Danny, at the top of the broadcast, not very far away from South Carolina State in Orangeburg. On the new first down, they'll turn it and hand it to Monteo Garrett for the 2nd time this year. He scoots forward for a short gain, maybe 3 yards, and Cornelius Walker brought him down.
And you're going to see a rotation here of running backs between Wesley Fields, Monteo Garrett, and Logan Wright. Expect those threes to get multiple reps here throughout the game.
And certainly more in the second half. We'll also likely see Matt LaRoche and Grant Walker as we enter week 1 of the 2018 season for the Eagles. It's going to be a stable of mostly 3 running backs, but they've also got an additional 2 younger guys, a true freshman and a redshirt freshman that will also see action. Second down and 7. Here comes the option again as Wirtz will keep it himself this time. He's inside the 10-yard line. Dives ahead down to the 5. He's got him into the red zone, and Georgia Southern is on the move, threatening to score for the first time in 2018.
Beautiful run by Shy Wirtz. He had 700 rushing yards on the season, had good blockers, was able to get ahead, and now it'll be 1st and goal for the Eagles.
So Georgia Southern knocking on the door for the first time in 2018, and this is a team that really said entering the offseason that they wanted to get better about scoring in the red zone. And on 1st and goal, Wirtz will keep it himself, stays on his feet, and he's down to the goal line. He reaches over, but was he down early? Looks like he got down to the goal line, maybe inside the 1, and that'll bring up a crucial 2nd down.
I believe Wirtz's knee was down before he crossed the plane. Let's take another look here. And I believe he was stopped just shy. Could be inches.
And as we count down to the 3-minute mark here of the first quarter, Georgia Southern trying to punch it in for the first time in the official Chad Lunsford era. Wesley Fields and Monteo Garrett in the backfield. On 2nd down, they'll give it to Monteo Garrett. He dives forward, and he's into the end zone for the first time this season. And Georgia Southern is on the board. He had 2 touchdowns last season as a redshirt junior, and he's on the board for the first time in 2018 as a senior.
A pretty simple run up the middle. He almost got stopped in the back by his own lineman, but able to get the touchdown for the Eagles.
They're going to run a trick play here on the PAT. Caught him off guard. Ellis Richardson has the ball. It is knocked loose, and it will not stand out of the back of the end zone. So 6-0 will stay the score, and we'll go to break here on ESPN Plus. The Eagles, a 6-0 lead in the first quarter. We are back from Paulson Stadium in Statesboro, Georgia. Georgia Southern punches it in on their 2nd drive of the year. Monteo Garrett from the 1.5-yard line. But they went for a trick play, Danny, and although they did complete the ball, Ellis Richardson at least caught the ball. It was not a complete pass. So as we head toward the home half of the first quarter here, Southern only a 6-point lead, could have been 7.
Yeah, they took a lot of chances in their first couple of drives on 4th downs. They were able to get 1 of 2 there, but nonetheless, they're on the board first. It's kind of hard for Richardson to bring that ball down. You got two humongous South Carolina defenders smacking you in the mouth.
So Tyler Bass to kick it away from the 35 for Georgia Southern. And Tayshawn Baines back to receive. He's going to run this one out from the 1-yard line, and Baines now up toward the 20. Still on his feet, through the defense. Hit the B button that time and returns it all the way to the 34.
That'll be the return that South Carolina State needs to get in good field position here to start on a drive.
We'll take a quick break here on ESPN Plus as South Carolina State gets ready to try to tie this game. So the Georgia Southern Eagles punch it in toward the end of the first quarter in game one of the 2018 season. They do not convert on the 2-point attempt. And now South Carolina State gets the ball back with Tyrese Nick out of the shotgun. Gives it up the middle, almost no gain on the play, maybe one. That'll bring up 2nd down and 9. And in on the carry that time, Jarius Jenkins. First time we have seen him take the carry this season. Rather, first time we've seen anyone rather than Datron James run it out of the backfield, Danny.
Yeah, South Carolina State has 3 running backs they can go to on their offense between Datron James, Jarius Jenkins, and our impact player for SC State, LeBron Morris.
So it will be 2nd down and 9 for the Bulldogs. On play action, throw over the middle. That's a complete one to Will Vereen. He's got a 1st down and more across the 50. And Sean Freeman brought him down.
Similar play earlier in the previous drive for South Carolina State where Tyrese Nick overthrew Vereen. This time Vereen able to get the catch. The Bulldogs across midfield.
And a quick congratulations to Will Vereen, the redshirt freshman out of Myrtle Beach. That was his first collegiate catch because as he was a redshirt last year, this is his first collegiate game. On 1st down, a little bit of motion for the Bulldogs. Vereen goes in motion again. And on 1st down, again, play action. Ball is on the turf. It's recovered by Georgia Southern down to the 30-yard line. And it's recovered by Ty Phillips. And all of a sudden, the Georgia Southern Eagles are knocking on the door again, Danny.
This has been a defensive first quarter so far. There you see the ball away from Tyrese Nick, and Phillips is able to pick it up and get it a couple of yards. And the Eagles are in great field position now to score once again before the quarter ends.
And it was the senior defensive end, Deshaun Cooper, who punched it away. And you gotta love the Gata chain that time for Phillips, who ran it back.
I love that now in college football where you have defensive players with a turnover chain or a big play championship belt.
Yeah, it's hot, isn't it? All right, so the momentum is in Paulson Stadium right now for Georgia Southern on a new 1st down. Works back into quarterback the offense. He hands it off to Wesley Fields, the returning leading rusher from a year ago. He's got a gain of about 5 yards. And Danny, the truth of the matter about Wesley Fields this year is if Georgia Southern wants to be a successful team, he has got to be his very best as the offensive MVP.
And he's in a good place right now after spending the offseason recovering from shoulder surgery.
This last week of game preparation was the first time he'd been thought to be 100% since his surgery by the coaching staff. On 2nd and 6, they'll run the option. Wirtz will keep it himself after a great fake. Here goes the quarterback. He's down to the goal line and into the end zone. Southern goes up 2 touchdowns and they strike on their first series. What a run by Shai Wirtz, an aggressive option keeper for the redshirt sophomore quarterback.
Excellent chain of events for Georgia Southern. First, they get the fumble recovery, and 2 plays later, Shai Wirtz faking the pitch to Wes Kennedy, keeping it by himself. Once again, having great blockers. What a block by Wesley Fields as Wirtz was able to get into the end zone.
All right, so Southern now only up 12 because they went for the fake earlier on, and now let's see if they will actually let Tyler Bass kick this one through. They will, and the Eagles go up. 13 points. Danny, what a gutsy play by Shai Werts. That was very impressive.
Well, now we're seeing a more aggressive Shai Werts, and he's more comfortable. Compared to his first start of his career last season against Auburn, he's more relaxed. And as you talked about earlier, Greg, Shai Werts is from Clinton, South Carolina, just an hour and a half from Orangeburg, where South Carolina State is located. So he knows these guys very well. So he was able to get through and gets the touchdown for the Eagles.
And Danny had talked about that first college game he ever played last year when he quarterbacked the offense against Auburn. Not that he could have done much about it, but last year he was only 4 for 8 for 4 yards passing and got sacked 6 times by the Tigers. Certainly already a better result for the 2018 season opener.
And it's always challenging as a young quarterback coming in and going up against a Power 5 school in your first collegiate game as quarterback.
So this Georgia Southern team already excited about a long drive and then a quick turnaround off a forced fumble and brought into the end zone by Shai Werts. So they've already scored in 2 very different ways. Once again, Bangs back to receive from inside the 5 of the Bulldogs. Low line drive kick, and Baines will take it from the 1. Brought it all the way out to the 35 last time. This time he stays on his feet. He's up to the 32. Danny, he's got a pretty good thing going.
Another great run there by the returner. Hopefully, South Carolina State won't turn the ball over on this next offensive possession.
So I'll be interested to see here as we move forward toward the end of the first quarter if they start to go to the air a little bit more, because the one complete pass from the first quarter so far was DeJuan Ford, who got in for just 1 or 2 plays at quarterback, and now they will bring Ford back out again. He is the second quarterback we have already seen for the Bulldogs today. Ford flanked in the backfield. The turn in the give that time. Nice gain of about 7 yards in on the carry for them, Omar Cummings.
It makes sense that they're bringing in DeJuan Ford now the quarterback for the Bulldogs. Tyrese Nick may be having some pregame jitters here in his first collegiate start.
Call it second down and 3 yards upcoming for the Bulldogs. And that'll be the end of the first quarter. We'll see the play to begin the second. But Georgia Southern, all the momentum in the world here in Paulson Stadium. We'll send it to break and be back after this. Back to begin the second quarter of the season opener here between Georgia Southern and South Carolina State. Bulldogs staring down the barrel of a second down and 3. DeJuan Ford, their second quarterback we've already seen for the Bulldogs now running the offense. On play action, he'll look to throw. Has good protection down the middle of the field. Ball knocked away and incomplete that time by Sean Freeman, the senior safety.
And Freeman able to come up from behind and break up that passing play. Ford had plenty of time, but Freeman able to time it just right, and Vereen able to make the catch.
So we will see Ford once again to quarterback the offense, and coming off the bench, Omar Cummings, the running back number 24. He is a true freshman out of Beaufort, South Carolina, not far from here, just across the border. Third and a long 3 for the Bulldogs. Ford turns and gives to Cummings, and the former Beaufort Eagle is up toward the 50. He's got a first down and quite a bit more.
Like that 4 running backs we'll see from South Carolina State in this game. A good run by Cummings.
Yeah, he was a true lightning bolt the last couple of years at Beaufort. We got a chance to watch him locally in the Savannah area, and he was a true star. The kid was just an absolute speedster. They'll give to him again, but nothing doing that time as he is brought down for a loss by by Tamarcio Reese.
Reese, the senior from Moultrie, Georgia, plays with a lot of emotion, and he has a lot of power. There you see, one-on-one was able to take Cummings down.
And Cummings came around the outside, and nothing you can do there. He's just waiting for you like a brick wall. Second down after a loss of about a half yard. Up the middle they go again. Once again, they'll go to Cummings. He's up to the 45-yard line. That'll bring up a more manageable 3rd down and 3.
Good job by the O-line from South Carolina State, able to push it an open hole for South Carolina State.
And let's take a look at the Georgia Southern impact players on defense. We've already seen Josh Moon break up a pass, and Monquavian Brinson a great tackling corner. And you see Moon right there. We'll see what kind of impact they can make here on 3rd down. Long 2 yards to go. Eagles working that brand new 3-4 defense up front. Ford gives to Cummings, tries to get along the outside as he spins, but a big hit coming, and that'll force another 4th down for Southern.
The 3-4 defense is a lot of moving parts. Blocking schemes and movements can work together, and you're seeing that work tremendously well for the Eagles. Another 3 and out.
What's impressing you most so far about this Southern defense on 3rd down, Danny?
Well, just the ability to stop the offense from crossing the 1st down marker.
Cliff Benjamin Jr. back to punt it away for South Carolina State back at their own 43-yard line. Bad snap, but he's able to get it away. Kennedy takes it from the 13-yard line, so not the best field position for the Eagles, but again, they do already lead by 2 touchdowns, and they'll try to extend that lead early in the 2nd quarter after this on ESPN+. Early in the 2nd quarter on the 2018 season opener on ESPN+. Alongside Danny Waugh, I'm Greg Talbot, and Danny, as Georgia Southern gets ready to take over again on offense, let's talk about the diversity of running back we've already seen. We have seen Shai Werts, the quarterback, with a keeper touchdown. Wesley Fields, Monteo Garrett. We've also seen a couple other running backs out there, so they're spreading the love here in the season opener.
And Shai Werts already with 57 rushing yards and that touchdown. Longest run, 23 yards in the 1st quarter.
And he's flanked by Wesley Fields in the backfield. And they'll start their drive with a quick swing pass outside. This is Colby Ransom making his first catch of the season. He's up there for a short gain of a couple yards, but I got to tell you, Danny, this is great news for him. He's played in 11 games, now 12 in his Georgia Southern career. That was his first collegiate catch.
Yeah, played 10 games last season, wasn't able to get a reception there.
Swing it out again, they go back to him. That play blown up at the line of scrimmage that time, though, as Alex Brown took him down.
And don't be surprised if you see Georgia Southern run the same play multiple times here in this game. Speaking with Bob the Best, offensive coordinator, they've only got 30% of the playbook in so far for week 1, which is a good thing because you want these players to learn these plays fresh. They don't want to be too confused heading into the first game of the year.
And that was something a lot of fans were kind of concerned about, actually, after the first scrimmage. 3rd down and 6 for the Eagles. They'll run the option again. It worked well for him last time, and it's going to work again here. Big first down for Shai Werts. He's across the 35 to the 36-yard line.
And that's the beauty of the option. You have the defender looking at Shai Werts, thinking about going for Werts, but mainly was focusing on the running back in Matt LaRoche. That gives an open lane for Werts to go down and gain more yardage for the Eagles.
And I'll say it, Danny, there were not that many games last year for Georgia Southern where it looked like anybody was in command of the offense. Shai Werts clearly is the heart of this unit right now, and it's really impressive to see. On a new first down, Fields in the backfield with him along with the tight end, Ellis Richardson. They'll turn and give it to Wesley, but he is hit head on with a helmet for a gain of about 1 yard as Cornelius Walker came flying in.
There haven't been many big plays for Wesley Fields yet in this game. Every carry he's gotten, he's only been able to get about 2 or 3 yards.
Yeah, 4 carries for him so far and a gain of just about 12 yards total. They'll go back to him here, and again, maybe just 2 yards if they go up the gut.
Once again, another good stop by the South Carolina State defense. They run a multiple 4, opposite of the 3-4 defense that the Eagles run.
So Fields will trot off for Georgia Southern after not being able to make much headway, and we might have to see Shai Wertz run along the outside again here, because when he's done that today, he's been extremely effective. The quarterback already 9 rushes for 76 yards. On 3rd and 6, that's Kennedy in motion. Richardson down to the near side now. On 3rd and 6, it will be an option, and again, Wertz will try to keep it himself. This time he's only up to the 45, and he will be 2 yards short as Cornelius Walker took him down. But I'll say, Danny, I'm not sure if 4th down is something that's going to stop them necessarily, because they've already gone for it twice, although now it looks like they will send out their punt unit.
Yeah, for a moment there, it seemed like they were going to go for it again on 4th down. They went for it twice in the first quarter, but this time they're going to play it safe, go for the punt, and put the Bulldogs back.
Well, now that you've gotten the lead, right?
Yes.
Chris Simmons back to receive. That'll take a good Georgia Southern bounce, and it's knocked down at the 17-yard line. We will take a break here on ESPN Plus as South Carolina State will march their team back out after the break and try to get on the board. Nearing the end of day 1 of college football here on ESPN Plus. Georgia State last night got a win over in-state foe Kennesaw State. The story right now, though, in the Sun Belt Conference, App State is leading Penn State with a minute to go up at Penn State. Penn State, though, is driving with about a minute left. That pass incomplete over the head of one of the halfbacks coming out of the backfield. But man, Danny, what a story that will be on the 11-year anniversary of App State's win at Michigan at the Big House. They are a minute away from knocking off the Nittany Lions.
And you know the Mountaineers fans have to be especially happy about to knock off potentially another Big Ten team. If you took a look at those standings, now a new Sun Belt Conference, 2 divisions, 5 teams each. The first year, the Sun Belt will have a conference championship game, and the team with the highest record will host it.
And what a statement win that would be for App State to begin this season out of the division. Tyrese Nick, the original starting quarterback, back into the game for SC State. He dives ahead, gaining maybe 5 yards. That'll bring up 3rd down as Josh Moon came along and knocked him down.
Didn't see a man to throw to, kept him himself, ran it up the middle, getting a couple of yards for the Bulldogs.
Josh Moon, a first-team all-conference preseason selection here at Georgia Southern. Certainly nice to see a couple of them this year, considering entering the 2017 season, Danny, there wasn't a single preseason all-conference selection for Southern.
And Moon had a great 2017, 47 tackles, 1 sack, 2 interceptions.
South Carolina State just 1 for 4 passing as a team today. Nick will keep it himself, and he will pick up the 1st down as he goes head over heels up to the 34-yard line. And Tamarcio Reese brought him down.
Once again, Nick couldn't find anyone, so he runs up the middle, and now we'll see him step out, and we'll possibly see DeJuan Ford back in.
And for what it's worth, if you're wondering, hey, what happened with Penn State, App State, turns out the Nittany Lions just tied it up, so we got a 38-38 all-tie with less than a minute to go. Although, please stay here. You can watch highlights of that game later on. You can watch this game live. This is DeJuan Ford, the redshirt junior, back to quarterback this Bulldogs team. On 1st down, he will roll and look to throw. And he will get rid of that one, and that'll bring up 2nd down and 10. And what an interesting story. DeJuan Ford is one of their 3-year quarterback, one of their 3 quarterbacks. Last year he was QB1. He was the main guy whose main job is now in jeopardy, Danny, because of how strong Tyrese Nick and Corey Fields have come on in camp.
And you look at his stats from last season, threw for over 1,700 yards, 8 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. You know, it makes sense for South Carolina State to find another person to see if they can take that quarterback starting job.
Staring down the barrel of 2nd down and 10 here against this stout Eagle defense. They love that pass over the middle. 2nd time they've run that same route, and again it is off the hands of Wolverine, bringing up 3rd down and long.
They're going a lot to the redshirt freshman here in this game, but Sean Freeman once again able to break up the pass, and Josh Moon as well. just the safeties for Georgia Southern doing a great job handling the passing game.
Good closing speed, I would say, but also very confident on the part of South Carolina State's offense to continue to go to Wolverine. So 3rd down and 10 yards, and Josh Moon bringing the pain. Unsurprising, they will leave Ford into QB again. Of the 3 quarterbacks, he is the truest pocket passer with the strongest arm. He will look to throw again, although he's under pressure. It's a screen play. It's off the hands of Omar Cummings and intercepted by Tamarcio Reese. And he's run out of bounds at the 30-yard line. And that is the 2nd turnover already for Georgia Southern. What a great couple of forced turnovers by this Eagle defense.
You take a look at the replay and what just happened. Omar Cummings bobbling it, going for a running back screen, but tossed it up in the air, and Tamarcio Reese was there to make the catch, getting the interception. Another turnover.
You know, Danny, that's the kind of thing they call a rookie mistake. I think you can not really fault him and call that one a true freshman mistake. But now Georgia Southern once again will rely on their offense coming off the heels of a big turnover forced by their defense. Wards and the Eagles take it from the 33-yard line. And he'll keep it himself. He's got Kennedy running behind him, but he's got a lot of green in front of him. Wards down to the 16-yard line. A big first down, a gain of more than 15 yards on the play.
And one thing I appreciate here are the blocking by the wide receivers. If you look at the replay here in just a moment, Darian Anderson blocking on the cornerback as Wirtz was able to run through. And here you see Wirtz had plenty of open room. Good block by Anderson. The guy was able to trip up Wirtz. Nonetheless, another big play for the Eagles.
New first down for Southern. Kennedy joins him in the backfield. They'll run that same option again. Wirtz will stay on his feet again. He's down inside the 10-yard line. And Danny Boyd, is this sophomore quarterback, love to run for the Eagles.
And that's the beauty of the options. Sometimes when your running back's having a troublesome quarter, the quarterback can keep himself. He's been able to get a lot of yards here, almost over 100 in the first half.
I was going to say, with that last run, Wirtz now up to 92. No, I take it back. Now 102 yards rushing already for the quarterback, Shai Wirtz. One of which was for a touchdown. Wirtz from the 9. He'll look to keep it again. They get hands on him down to the 6-yard line. But again, Danny, that's one of the impressive things about Shai Wirtz is, although he doesn't look very big, only 5'11", 200 pounds, he's still a slippery enough runner that usually arm tackles aren't going to do it for him.
And you got to give credit to the offensive line as well for making consistent blocks for Shai Wirtz to run. The offense starts and ends with the offensive line to carry this offense towards the end zone.
So Georgia Southern looking to go up 3 touchdowns on this drive as we count down toward the end of the first half of the first game of the 2018 season. Monteo Garrett and Wesley Fields in the backfield. They'll turn and give it to Wesley, still on his feet, chugging ahead down inside the 5 toward the 2-yard line. That should be enough for the first down and turn it into 1st and goal.
It will be enough for the first down indeed, just a few yards shy of the end zone, but Wesley Fields getting another carry after coming out in the previous series for the Eagles.
So Georgia Southern has already punched it in from around the goal line once tonight. They'll try to do it again here with a couple of chances to go now on a new first down. Fields looks to be a blocker as they pitch to Monteo Garrett, but he is swallowed up in the backfield for a loss by Jalen Evans, the freshman DB, with a clutch tackle.
Good job by the SC State defense, able to break up the option play for Georgia Southern. At first, I thought Wirtz had the ball, but he was able to get out of harm's way. But nonetheless, the Eagles go backwards.
And I kind of thought that's why they were motioning one of the linebacker, one of the fullbacks there to be a blocker, but it didn't seem to make much of a difference. All right, 2nd down and goal for Southern. Fields flanked now by Logan Wright, the freshman running back. I think Southern was expecting the whistles to be blown, and they were as a flag comes in from the near side.
That'll be on Aaron Dowdell, the redshirt sophomore from Fairburn, a transfer from Georgia Military College.
And that'll push the Eagles back. Danny, I'll say, though, got to give credit to both coaching staffs. That's the first penalty we've seen today, and we're halfway through this. We're almost at the end of the second quarter.
I was about to say, it's been a smooth, consistent first half. You haven't seen many penalties. This is the first one, like you said.
So now the Eagles push back outside their own 10-yard line to about the 12. Now Wirtz has a little more room to work and quarterback this team. Kennedy goes in motion. And more flags coming in, this time from the near side referee. Georgia Southern will take a timeout. So, Danny, I'll say, though, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. It's that Southern has a little more space now because we saw them punch it in from around the goal line earlier on with Monteo Garrett. I think Shai Wirtz likes to have a little green in front of him.
Yeah, and props to Georgia Southern. This is the first timeout of the half that they've called. We saw two from South Carolina in the first quarter as head coach Buddy Pugh was trying to look at some things, didn't like what he saw from the offense in the first couple of series.
So plenty of time to work for this Georgia Southern team at 3:08. They've got all the time they need there in the red zone, but the South Carolina State team, Danny, do not count them out because this is a team last year that, as Wirtz looks to stare them down, had the best rushing defense in the MEAC.
Even though they finished 3-7 on the year, they had a great defensive season.
Second down and goal for the Eagles, and Wirtz will keep it again. Down inside the 5, dives ahead to the 3 or the 4, and that'll bring up third down.
Positive here, Wirtz was able to pick up the yards that the Eagles lost in the previous two plays with the loss of Monteo Garrett and the 5-yard false start penalty on Aaron Dowdell.
And a couple surprising players in on that last play for Southern as well. We saw Marcus Rogers lining up as a wide receiver on the near side. We expected to see him a lot more in camp than we actually did in the scrimmages. All right, third down and goal for the 4-yard line for Georgia Southern. Wirtz will look to run the option and keep it again. The quarterback falls forward, and again he is stopped short, and that'll bring up fourth down and goal.
Wirtz just shy of the end zone. No pun intended.
I see what you did there, Danny.
Cam Brown came in for Ellis Richardson as the blocker at the tight end spot, and it looks like the Eagles are going to go for the field goal, keeping it safe to add 3 more.
So Tyler Bass will trot back out. This is essentially just a PAT for the Eagles with the ball down at the 2-yard line. 15 for 19 last year. See if we can go 1 for 1 here in 2018. Kick is away from Bass. That one sails through the upright to the nice hook. And Georgia Southern takes a 16-point lead with 1:54 to go in the first half. We'll take a timeout, back with the home stretch of the first half right after this on ESPN+. Well, this game has gone approximately as we expected as we count down toward the end of the first half here on ESPN+. Georgia Southern, a pair of touchdowns, a failed 2-point conversion, and they make up for it with a field goal from Tyler Bass to make it 16-0. And Danny, the story so far is the 2 huge turnovers that the Eagle defense forced, and the offense able to turn them into points. That is exactly the kind of complimentary football that Chad Lunsford wants to see out of his team.
1 touchdown, 1 and a field goal. And it took some time for the Eagle offense to get in the swing of things in the first quarter, but towards the end, they're able to score that first touchdown, and now they are moving here throughout the rest of the first half.
Bass to kick it away again for the Eagles. And Baines back to receive. Not going to be able to bring this one out, though. That is way deep as he put that one into the wind. So let's see what South Carolina State does here with not a lot of time. They're essentially going to have to run a 2-minute drill if they want to put any points on the board here before the end of the first half.
And haven't had the best luck in the first half so far. Those 2 costly turnovers resulting in Eagle scores.
Now, it's not that South Carolina State hasn't had luck of moving the ball. It really has been that they've had a lot more luck going to Omar Cummings on the ground and the quarterback Tyrese Nick running on the ground, because through the air, the Bulldogs have been completely ineffective. 1 for 7 between their 2 quarterbacks for a combined 17 yards and 1 interception.
Yeah, I expect them to especially pass here on this final drive in the first half. See if they can get some good catches from the receiving corps.
Well, this is surprising because they put in their quarterback who is more prone to run in Tyrese Nick. And he will keep it himself because that's his M.O. Gain of about 2 yards that time as Montquavian Brinson comes around to make the tackle.
We haven't seen South Carolina State get too many yards on running plays. The thing about the 3-4 defense for Georgia Southern, they have the ability to rush 4 or 5 people, and they're able to understand quick suddenness, and they're quicker up front.
And the clock will tick down inside 90 seconds before we get to halftime. Chad Lunsford and Scott Sloan have to be over the moon about how their defense has performed so far tonight. On second down, they're going to let Nick keep it. And he's dropped in the backfield. What a tackle that time by Kendall Vildor, the cornerback.
And Vildor with a great tackle from behind. And once again, not a good look for South Carolina State here on this play. Nick trying to run on the outside. The blockers seemed like they didn't know who to block there on that play.
I love how this Georgia Southern defense just swarms to the ball. The Scott Sloan model is all about speed, about aggressiveness, about running through the whistle. And I'll tell you, there are a lot of plays Scott Sloan must be happy about so far here in the first half, but that one has to be up there.
Yeah, that 3-4 defense makes it tough for the opposing offensive line to stop the D-line. As you see, they were confused in trying to figure out who to block for the quarterback to get some yards, and it was ineffective.
So, first half MVPs for you. Who do you got? Josh Moon, maybe Tamarcio Reese?
I would say Tamarcio Reese because he's made some big tackles and was able to get the interception on the defensive side for the Eagles. And on the offensive side, it's been the Shy Werts show. So far, 15 carries, 114 yards, and a touchdown. And he's also been a perfect 3 for 3 on passes, even though the passes have been short, only 12 yards so far. But it shows that he's been able to control the momentum for Georgia Southern on the offensive side.
So after a short gain and then an ensuing tackle for loss on this drive, South Carolina State looking at a 3rd down and 10, and again, just 1 for 7 through the air as a team. And Nick will look to throw again until he tucks and runs. He gave up on throwing pretty quickly there, and the defense there to swallow him whole as Tamarcio Reese brought him to the ground.
And once again, another tackle made by Reese. Reese and Josh Moon, along with Wesley Fields, are the 3 captains for Georgia Southern this season. So it makes sense that he's been able to step up on the defensive side.
And the clock will stop at 1:04. It looks to me, Danny, like Georgia Southern really wants one more shot here to march down the field and score. I think Chad Lunsford and Bob DeBest want this as almost a scrimmage-like atmosphere. It's like, hey, let's just see if we can do this since we already have a comfortable lead.
Yeah, the first game, you're going to try out a lot of things that may work or may not work. Like you saw earlier, I know it sounded like a broken record, but you saw Georgia Southern be aggressive on the 4th downs conversions, only 1 for 2. But they want to try to get the ball back really quick. You saw how quickly the Eagles were able to get that turnover and then turn it into points. Like you saw in the first fumble, 2 plays later, Shy Werts was able to score.
So Jerome Pettaway back to punt it away for South Carolina State inside the 10. Gets it away, no problem. Kennedy back around the 40 for the Eagles. He won't get a chance to run it out. They'll take it from the 41 or 42-yard line. So pretty good field position for the Eagles to work with about a minute to go.
However, they have no timeout, so 57 seconds. You can expect them to possibly pass more here on this drive, or if you see runs, they're going to go towards the sidelines.
Shy
At
Werts
least get into field goal range.
Shy Werts has not thrown a ton so far tonight, but he is 100% passing, 3 for 3 for 12 yards. Although he's really been the true threat, keeping on options and going for 20 yards apiece. The quarterback, Shy Werts, in case you're just joining us for the Eagles, 15 carries, 115 yards, and a touchdown. So a long way to go with no timeouts. Uncorks one, caught by Ellis Richardson, the tight end, inbounds. Call it a gain that time is 6 yards.
That's the first reception made by Ellis Richardson, the redshirt senior from Atlanta, Georgia. Last season had 9 receptions, 185 yards, and 3 touchdowns.
And we might see him down at the end of the field as well. Like you said, Danny, 3 touchdowns on 9 catches last year. He was a real red zone threat. 2nd out and 5. Wirtz to throw again, loves that out route, went back to Richardson for the 2nd straight play, but that time it was knocked away by Alex Brown.
And this time they were able to read it better. South Carolina State was. Jalen Evans, the redshirt freshman from Hartsville, South Carolina, able to break up the pass.
So this is a good practice run here for Southern. So far tonight, they're only 3 for 7 on 3rd downs. And Wirtz looks downfield as the pocket collapses. He'll improvise, dump it over the middle to Wesley Fields, but it's off his hands and incomplete. The Eagles are now 3 for 8 on 3rd down, and that'll bring up 4th in a possible punting situation.
And Fields is beating himself up after mishandling the pass thrown by Shai Wirtz. Wirtz could have kept it himself, had plenty of room to possibly run it himself, and it looks like the Eagles will bring out the punt team. So the opportunity didn't go their way this time around.
Plenty to work on now. I'm sure Bob DeBess will have something to say about that during halftime. And here comes McGill Bowerly, his first punt. That one nearly blocked. We should have a roughing call. The flag will not come, though. That ball still in play, but just got into the end zone. So out to the 20-yard line it comes.
Questionable right there as McGill Bowerly was hit after he punted it away. He was even looking at the referees going, where's the flag? Where's the flag? That should be 15 yards, and the drive should continue for Georgia Southern. But nonetheless, it'll be South Carolina State ball from the 20.
So as South Carolina State gets ready to bring their offense back out for what will be one more time here in the first half. Worth noting, Will Vereen, the redshirt freshman wide receiver for the Bulldogs, is the only player to haul in a catch. The best luck they've had moving the ball down the field today has been quarterback keepers from Tyree Snick or handoffs up the middle and to the outside to the true freshman Omar Cummings out of Beaufort, South Carolina.
So this has been a defensive game so far. Both defenses being able to make consistent stops, especially for South Carolina State, considering that Georgia Southern only made 3 third-down conversions out of 8 attempts.
All right, South Carolina State might just take a knee here and run out the clock in the first half. And they will. We'll have to do it one more time because, as you can see, the play clock's not going to run it all the way down. But actually, the refs are taking their time here. They'll have to do it one more time. You know, it looks like the referees are just going to let him go as the South Carolina State Bulldogs on the top of your screen begin to run off the field. And we will call that the first half of action here in the 2018 opener in the beginning of the Chad Lunsford era. That's the man right there. He's got to be happy as the Eagles take a 16-point shutout lead into halftime. And we are back with our halftime coverage of the 2018 season opener here on ESPN Plus. Georgia Southern a 16-point shutout lead so far on the Bulldogs of South Carolina State out of the MEAC. Back up here in the broadcast booth alongside Danny Waugh, I'm Greg Talbot, and thank you so much for joining us here for the 2018 home opener for the Eagles on ESPN Plus. Well, off the top of the broadcast, Danny, we already talked about it. This is the first home game of the official Chad Lunsford era for the Eagles, and it's been a long time since they've had this much excitement and positive energy around the program.
Yeah, it's been such a great atmosphere here for Georgia Southern fans. It feels like the electricity is back with the introduction of Chad Lunsford as head coach.
He came in and took over last year midway through the season as the interim head coach with a winless team after they lost to UMass. He got him a couple of wins, was given the head job, and really his true blue personality has re-energized Eagle Nation. Take a look.
My football story is fairly unique, I think. Started out, as a student assistant at Georgia Military College in Milledgeville, Georgia, junior college, toting the equipment, toting the water, filming practices, doing anything I could to get into college coaching. And as it went along, I ended up getting more responsibilities, became the running backs coach at Georgia Military College, and my last couple years at Georgia Military, I became the linebackers coach. And then from there, I came to Georgia Southern. I was a slot backs coach at Georgia Southern from 03 to 06, and I had the opportunity to learn a lot about Georgia Southern and the traditions here and what made the place special. Been a little bit of a journey, and had great experiences everywhere I'd been, and just worked under a lot of different head coaches and paid a lot of attention to each one of them. Came back to Georgia Southern in 2013. Came back with Coach Jeff Monken, was the wide receivers coach, recruiting coordinator. And my ultimate goal, I wanted to become a head coach. Did not, ever dream that it would be Georgia Southern. Very excited that that's my opportunity. The story of Georgia Southern football is epic. I thought I knew, when I was here the first time, but as a head coach, I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of different people, and especially the ones that helped start this program. And then the other piece to it, I think it makes it special. Out of all the places I've been, it's the players. It's the former players. It's the current players. How much they buy into the tradition, how much they buy into the legacy, how much they put it on themselves to leave the place better than what they found it. The guys like to call it the brotherhood here, and there's no doubt about it. It's a really tight-knit group. All these guys have a bond. That's what really makes this place special. The community feels like that they're a part of it, and that's something that I would never ever want to change here. I want everybody to feel like they're a part of this program. Well, obviously the city and the community has grown because Georgia Southern has grown. I just want the guys that we have here now, the guys that we end up recruiting, I want them to understand how special Georgia Southern is, and then I want them to have a part of that specialness and leave their own legacy here and be successful and just be a part of something epic.
Steve, what does Freedom mean to our fans as part of the history of Georgia Southern? What does he mean?
Well, that's a great question. I'll tell you, Art, he has come to be iconic, and not surprising. We are Georgia Southern Eagle Nation, but to actually be one of the few institutions around the country that have a live bald eagle that's present at our football games, graduation, it continues to grow, and it's really, really a special opportunity to be with Freedom.
Tell me the story around Freedom. How did the Wildlife Center in Georgia Southern University acquire a bald eagle?
Having an eagle here at the campus of Georgia Southern goes all the way back to football. And the Eric Russell years, we had in 1992 or 90, I believe, a bird flew over the stadium. They called it our mascot, except I don't think it was an avid birder. It turned out to be a turkey vulture that flew over the stadium. And the community, the Statesboro community, wanted to right that travesty and approached me, and we were able to put in a request. It took us 13 years to get the right eagle, but that's Freedom.
How do the fans feel about Freedom? What are their reactions when you have a bird of prey in front of them like this?
I think the fans each and every year just increasingly appreciative of the realization that he's a wild animal, and yet he elects to be with us and serves a very vital role. So they're, I think, like everybody, somewhat emotionally moved by the flight of Freedom.
Freedom during game day. He's one of the few bald eagles in the country who does a live flight.
And so we'll do our practice flights, but once the flight's done, and that is kind of kicking off the game, we don't simply return him to the Wildlife Center. We then really do the heavy lifting, which is to go into the crowd and share Freedom, which actually supports the Wildlife Center. It's what we're all about, man and nature together. So I think that's what really distinguishes him from maybe some of the other Eagles, is that we're in the stands, meeting and greeting the fans of Georgia Southern University.
Tell us about the impact on the community, the nation. What impact do we have with it?
Well, that to me, well, there you go. He's telling you. That is, to me, the thing that caught me so flat-footed. I knew it would mean a lot. What I was not prepared for is that the privilege to travel with the football team all over the nation and wherever we're at, for whatever reason, we're dealing with the national symbol. And it's kind of like something so iconic, being a guard at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. The realization that I'm next to something that means so much to so many. And for that, it's just a privilege I'm eternally thankful for.
2018 season opener live with you. 2018 season opener live with you on ESPN Plus alongside Danny Waugh. I'm Greg Talbot here with you at the prettiest little stadium in America at halftime between Georgia Southern and South Carolina State. The Eagles a 16-point shutout lead so far over the South Carolina State Bulldogs. And Danny, let's get into the first half highlights. And although we did see a Monteo Garrett rushing touchdown and a couple of great defensive plays, really the story of the first half was the starting quarterback for the Eagles, Shai Werts. He has been absolutely electric.
Yeah, this has been the Shai Werts show. So far in this game, 15 rushes, 122 yards, and a touchdown. So far in the game, also 4 of 6 passing for only 17 yards. And here's a touchdown you see right here. Good blockers, good fake the pitch back. Kept himself, was able to get into the end zone with great blocking by Wesley Fields to carry him in.
Not only was he great through the air, 4 for 6 in the first half for 17 yards. Really, he was even more impressive on the ground. Ran the ball 15 times in the first 2 quarters for 114 yards and a rushing touchdown. So that was Shai's stats. Let's take a look at the overall stats, Danny. Not surprising to see the Eagles on offense have almost tripled up the Bulldogs.
Well, that's what the Eagles are known for running the ball, running the option. They're known for the triple option back when they won the 6 AA championships. And already having a great first half so far, and also containing time of possession. And it's those 2 turnovers from South Carolina State that really helped put the Eagles in scoring position, going off a touchdown and a field goal.
So the offense was helped by the defense. That's great complementary football. We'll see what the second half holds right after this. One half in the books, 1 to go on the 2018 season opener between the Sun Belt Conference Georgia Southern Eagles and the MEAC South Carolina State Bulldogs on ESPN Plus. Alongside Danny Waugh, I'm Greg Talbot. A very entertaining first half, and as Wes Kennedy is back to receive for the Eagles, this Georgia Southern offense will get the ball to begin the second half and look to extend that 16-0 lead.
Yeah, it's been a great first half so far defensively. Now let's see if the offense can stay consistent, get some good drives, and possibly double the score here.
And the kick is away to begin the second half. Boundary and Kennedy back to receive, and it will be Wes Kennedy, the former Benedictine cadet out of Savannah, to run it out. He's got that speed, and he's up to the 35-yard line.
And that's one cut away from possibly taking that to the house to start the second half. Here you see once again had great lanes, great blocking up the middle, cuts one, good block by Ellis Richardson, but then coming in to make the tackle was LeBron Morris.
And we knew entering this game how much of a factor Wes Kennedy was going to play for the Eagles. Not only has he returned punts and returned kicks, he's also made an 8-yard catch for Georgia Southern as a wide receiver, and wouldn't be surprised if we saw him take a handoff or two before this game is done as well. First play of the second half for the Eagles, unsurprisingly, a short give up the middle to Wesley Fields. He fights his way forward for about a gain of 2 yards before Roderick Perry brings him down.
This is the 5th year for Georgia Southern in the Sun Belt Conference, and they want to get back to a point where they can dominate. 2014, their first year, they won the conference. 2015, went to a bowl game, won that. 2016 and 2017 weren't the best years, but in the Chad Lunsford era, they want to kick things off on a great note.
And the first half of this game certainly helping them do that. Second out and 7. Werts on the keeper as he goes to the outside. He's got a little bit of space. He spins his way forward to a first down across the 46 to the 47 before Bruce Johnson gets him by the legs.
A good read by Johnson, was able to stay with Shai Werts the entire time, didn't fall for the handoff.
Werts now over 120 yards rushing, nearly 125 so far on the day already. And really, it's kind of amazing, Danny, when you think about what's been happening recently in his personal life, that he is so locked in on football right now. In case you haven't been following this Eagles team, Shi's family's house in South Carolina burned down just a few weeks ago. They lost almost everything, but the Georgia Southern community rallied, collected donations to support the family. But you look at this today, he just wanted to get back to football as he looks to uncork one down the sideline. Instead, he'll keep it. He'll run out of bounds for a gain of 5 yards.
And it's hard for a player when something happens in their personal life and to focus on football on the field, but the community really did gather around him and his family, and Eagle Nation is with him.
Certainly are. They collected a bunch of donations through gseagles.com. There was a GoFundMe page. The Orts family was so embraced by the Georgia Southern community, and that's one of the great things about this football program. Long 2nd and 5 coming up here for Southern. Colby Ransom split to the bottom of your screen as the wide receiver as Kennedy goes in motion. He'll turn and give to Fields. Has some green in front of him. He's got the first down inside the 40-yard line and takes a couple of Bulldogs with him.
And that's the first big run we've seen from Wesley Fields in this entire game. His first couple of carries, he had some trouble, but this was a good run.
Yeah, previous to this carry, his longest run was 6 yards, and this was certainly better than that. Had a little help from the line.
At least got 10 on that previous play.
Yeah, previous to that, averaging 2.5 yards a carry. That'll certainly help Wesley. And I'll say this, Danny. Entering this week, this was the first week since his shoulder surgery that the staff of the offense said he was at 100%. When he's gotten some space, he certainly looks 100. On the new first down, they'll give to Monteo Garrett. He goes shoulder first for a gain of 2 or 3 yards, and we didn't see Monteo a whole lot in the first half because the gains just weren't there. But the fact of the matter is, we talk about how Wesley Fields needs to be the offensive MVP. If they continue to move the ball to different running backs, Monteo, his big strength is being a home run hitter, going for 20 and 30-yard gains. The problem for him tonight is he just hasn't gotten the space.
Yeah, not yet, but there's still plenty of action left to go here in this game.
Strange formation for the Eagles on 2nd and 8. And they'll pitch to Wes Kennedy. And he's got some green in front of him. The former Benedictine cadet fumbles the ball. It's down. It's still loose around the 15-yard line. The Eagles say they have it. And it looks like the Eagles were able to recover at their own 15-yard line.
I know you said it was a strange formation for Georgia Southern. That's that traditional triple option that they're used to going back in the 80s and 90s. Wes Kennedy, a great run, but it gets tripped up. And I believe a defender was able to knock the ball out of his hands. Luckily, the Eagles were able to recover, and they have good field possession.
So basically for now, no harm, no foul for Georgia Southern. Shai Werts looks pretty relieved as he looks back to the sideline and hears from his new head coach, Chad Lunsford. Eagles taking the ball at the 15-yard line for the 1st and 10. Monteo Garrett back into the backfield along with Wesley Fields. To the near side, this is Monteo Garrett. The home run hitter hurdles a defender and gets down to the 1-yard line. He's from Talladega, Alabama, and he put on the speed there.
Last season, 33 rushes, 243 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Expect more from him this season. Had a great run, bouncing to the outside, was able to break off one defender, hurdles over a second, but a third guy coming in and laying him out before he was able to cross the end zone.
Garrett responsible for the rushing touchdown early on in this game for Georgia Southern. Put him on the board for the first time in 2018. Although he won't have a chance to take it in this time. Fields in the backfield along with Logan Wright. They'll give it to Fields as he scoots his way below the defenders and into the end zone for a touchdown. We do have a flag, though, back at the 9-yard line. That should be a late hit on the South Carolina State defense. Probably unnecessary roughness because Shai Werts, as you can see, is holding his helmet.
Yeah, that was a rough hit.
That should be enforced later on. Georgia Southern goes up another touchdown, Danny.
A good run by Wesley Fields, able to pound it in for another touchdown. And it was right after the handoff. There you see Shai Werts got hit hard.
Xavier Johnson, the freshman defensive lineman, came in like a wrecking ball that time. So now a 22-point lead for the Eagles. We'll see if they actually kick it this time or fake it like they did right off the top of the game. And it looks now like they will have Tyler Bass kick it away. Tyler Bass continues to be great here in the 2018 season opener, and it's a 23-point lead for Georgia Southern. South Carolina State's offense hasn't been able to do much. We'll see if they can come to life after this on ESPN+. And we are back live on ESPN+. Georgia Southern now a 23-point shutout lead over South Carolina State as Monteo Garrett took them down inside the red zone, and Wesley Fields finished it off with a 2-yard run into the end zone for another Eagle rushing touchdown.
And keep in mind, Tyler Bass kicking off from the 50, that 15-yard penalty being enforced after the redshirt freshman Xavier Johnson with a late hit on Shyworth. A true freshman mistake there.
And here is the kick from Bass. Can't even tempt them to bring that one out as it flies out of the back of the end zone. And South Carolina State will bring out their offense once again. Well, what we saw from them, Danny, in the first half was really only one player who was able to significantly move the ball, and that was a guy who wasn't even listed as a top running back on their depth chart. That is the true freshman running back, Omar Cummings, out of Beaufort, South Carolina.
Yeah, hopefully South Carolina State looks to execute more running plays with their other running backs in Datron James, Jared Jacobs, and LeBron Morris. We haven't seen much of them in the first half. Let's see if that changes in the second.
South Carolina State, for what it's worth, only 1 for 7 passing as a team. The one complete pass went for 17 yards, and that was to Will Vereen, a redshirt freshman, and that was the first catch of his college career. Tyrese Nick, the quarterback, he turns and hands it off. That's a nice gain of 7 or 8 yards, that time to Datron James.
Good run from James. We also need to talk about the quarterback switch up for South Carolina State. Tyrese Nick started the first half, but DeJuan Ford Jr. has gotten some reps in as well for a couple of series.
Yep.
We'll see if that switches up as well.
Bulldogs moving quickly now on 2nd and short. Quarterback keeper, here comes Tyrese Nick. Defense punches him forward, and he was able to spin that one forward up to the 36-yard line, and that should move the chains. I, for one, Danny, am still waiting to see if we are going to see Corey Fields, the true freshman quarterback who apparently came into camp like a wrecking ball and put the fear of God in these other two quarterbacks.
Well, it all depends on how South Carolina State can execute here in the third quarter. Things start to get out of hand. I wouldn't be surprised if we see the third-string quarterback coming in towards the fourth.
So this is Datron James flanking him in the backfield. He's a bowling ball of a runner, but really does prefer to go along the outside and try to beat you to the corner. It's the keeper again from Nick on the read option. Tries to get to the outside. He is brought down by the ankles by Chris Harris Jr.
The defense fell for the fake to Datron James, and Nick able to keep it, fighting for at least an extra 2 yards on that play. Good game for South Carolina State on the first down.
Yeah, not entirely surprising to see him sticking with what it is that has worked in the first half, which is Tyrese Nick quarterback in this offense and him keeping the ball on read options. On play action, pocket collapsing. He's not going to get out of there. Great sack and a takedown by a couple of Eagles, led by Trevor Villum.
Multiple Eagles soaring in to stop the quarterback on that play. At first, for a moment, Rashad Bird got to him first, and a couple of guys caught up.
My mistake, that was Trevor Villum. So 3rd down and 3 yards to go. Eagles really looking like they're going to stack the box here on 3rd down and short. We have whistles, flags everywhere. We'll see what the referees say here on what was 3rd down and 3.
Referees discussing it. I saw Trevor Villum cross the line of scrimmage, but I'm not sure if one of the offensive line for South Carolina State flinched or not. So It could be a false start, or it could be an offsides on the defense. We'll take a look and see. Offside from the defense.
Take a look at this one more time. And that was the right call on the defensive end.
And that's really the first mistake we've seen from Beelan, getting the start after Logan Hunt inactive for the first game of the season.
On the new first down, it is the quarterback keeper by Nick. He scampers ahead for a gain of 4 yards, and that seems to be, Danny, really the only play outside of giving it to Omar Cummings that has produced any significant yardage on a regular basis.
Yeah, and that's possibly one of the only ways South Carolina can convert on a third down. The Eagles were close to stopping them once again, but the offsides keeps the drive going.
Second out and 5 yards, and that's the thing, Danny. They were so together as a unit and so solid in the first half that Bob DeBess does not want them to stop here in the second as they give to James. He picks up the first down and a gain of about 8 yards.
And now you're starting to see the production of Dayton James that South Carolina State was hoping to see in the first half. Last season, 45 rushes, 139 yards, just 1 touchdown. He looks to get more involved here in this season.
And the Bulldogs moving really fast here on the new first down, going no huddle. Slow snap, and Nick will look downfield to throw. Instead, he'll turn the corner. He'll get out of bounds for a gain of 1 or 2 yards as he was chased out.
Wise decision by Nick to run out of bounds. You had 5 or 6 Georgia Southern defenders backing out in the secondary. There's nowhere for him to throw to.
Not surprising to see them leave Nick in here because, again, when they had DeJuan Ford in, yes, he completed the pass, but also it seems like they need the dual threat quarterback, and Ford really is a true pocket passer. On 2nd and 10, here comes Nick. Little space in the middle of the defense. He falls forward, comes up maybe a yard short. That'll bring up 3rd down and short. Moncavian Brinson came in from the quarterback spot and hit him hard.
Yeah, ran straight into a shoulder pad from Brinson. He's another key player to look out for. 5'11" junior from Atlanta, Georgia. Last season had 34 tackles and 5 interceptions. Led the team.
3rd down and 2. Bulldogs moving fast. They give to Omar Cummings, the former Beaufort Eagle. It looks like he got that one by maybe just a half yard.
That's one thing he's been able to do in this game. He's been able to fight to get at least 2 or 3 yards on a short 3rd down conversion. The Bulldogs were able to convert.
And that's one of the great stories of this game, I think, Danny, is it's so fun to see kids from the Savannah area playing against each other. You have Omar Cummings from Beaufort. You have Wes Kennedy from Savannah proper in Benedictine. That's the kind of thing you love to see in the Coastal Empire. On the new first down, up the middle they go. Almost nothing doing that time. James able to make something out of nothing. Gain of 4 yards, call it.
Another good game. The Bulldogs are starting to move the chains here.
Couple new receivers seeing some time. We see Jermaine Baxley intermittently going on and off the field for South Carolina State. He's a big guy, 6'3", 210. Haven't seen them target him, though, yet through the air. On 2nd and 6, here comes Nick. Southern defense there with good closing speed. It appears the ball is loose. And Georgia Southern has it. It's Kendall Vildor recovering the fumble. And the Eagles will get it back. I think the defense themselves, Danny, were pretty stunned.
And just like that, the tables have turned. There you see going down. The ball went out of the hands. Nice strip by Josh Moon, one of the other impact players that we talked about for this game.
So far tonight, we have seen Tamarcio Reese make an impact, Josh Moon make an impact, Monquavian Brinson make an impact, Kendall Vildor now make an impact. Danny, all the guys that the Eagles need to be stepping up have certainly been here in week 1.
Had another turnover chain moment for the Southern defense.
Let's take a look at this one more time. on the fumble and subsequent recovery.
Going to make sure he was down. They're trying to see if he was down before the ball went out the hands. I think when he was going down, the ball was stripped out. His knee didn't touch the plane yet.
I think what happened there was we saw Josh Moon make the tackle, and Moon was on the ground. And that's what the referees are taking a look at here, though. I would say the ball carrier, Nick, the quarterback, he was on top of Josh Moon when that ball came loose.
Well, let's take one more look from a different angle here. Nick, who was doing a great job on this drive, running the ball and getting first down.
So
there
look
you
at,
see Josh
there's
Moon.
Moon on the takedown. He is on top of Moon when it comes out. That is a live ball.
Yeah, that's a fumble. Great strip by Josh Moon.
Josh Moon has been absolutely everywhere. The preseason all-conference safety, Danny. He's been everything the Eagles wanted and more tonight.
Absolutely. One of the key players going into this season. 6-foot senior from Fairburn, Georgia. Had 47 tackles last year. One of the leaders, along with 2 interceptions.
And I would say both coordinators tonight, as they move forward into the rest of the 2018 season, because Scott Sloan and Bob DeBest are veterans, they've been around the systems in college football so long that they know they always have more to work on with their teams. But I'll tell you, Scott Sloan and the way he has coached up this defense with so many players, I would never know that this was the first night we have seen Georgia Southern in a new defensive scheme. It looks like they've been running this for years.
Yeah, this 3-4 defense has been very effective here in this game, and Scott Sloan has experience just about everywhere. After returning to Georgia Southern, he spent the last 7 years at Appalachian State with a secondary coach, recruiting coordinator as well, and was also co-defensive coordinator.
Here's the call. Okay, it appears we have South Carolina State getting a second chance on offense. Although I think it'd be interesting in the post game to see if we can see what the referees saw there, because at least from our camera angles, it looked like that ball was clearly live.
Looks like the Bulldogs caught a lucky break there.
So a new 1st down and 10. They got to get down to the 4 to move the chains. Nick puts 2 tight ends in motion. And he'll keep it himself with his halfback. Jordan as his lead blocker. He's down to the 6-yard line. A good gain. Nearly picked up this 1st down. That'll be 2nd and short. And once again, they will continue to move fast and get back to the line.
But now the big question is, how is Georgia Southern's defense going to overcome this adversity? What they thought was a turnover and would have been their 3rd on the night. They have to stay on the field and prevent South Carolina State from scoring.
So James once again in the backfield with Nick. Nick has not completed a pass yet tonight. And he won't try to here. Running behind his blockers, trying to get to the outside, and it looks like he's into the end zone, but flags are everywhere.
It could be possible it'd be a holding penalty on the offense, but as you saw right there, Nick had to cut from one side to the other to bounce out and make his way towards the end zone. Let's see what the referees have to say and who the penalty is going to be on. That's going to be on DeMontez Burrows, the wide receiver, for holding. See Burrows.
Number 1, top of the screen. Oh, absolutely. No kidding.
Sent Sean Freeman down to the ground, and just when you thought South Carolina State was able to answer back on a close call on the fumble, now they have to go 10 yards back.
So now call this 2nd and 7, although we will see another review coming up on the field by the officials. All right, folks, so what we're hearing here is that they are checking to see if he lost the ball when he was going into the end zone. And we'll wait to see what the officials have to say.
I feel like nonetheless,
the holding should have
Bulldogs
negated that, basically, right?
Yeah, the penalty is going to send them 10 yards back regardless of what happened. And let's take a look now at the quarterback and Tyrese Nick to see if the ball left his hands. There you saw the holding, and then, yeah, the ball was knocked out of his hands before he crossed the pylon. So technically, the ball should be placed on about maybe the 2-yard line, but nonetheless, that holding penalty is going to send them 10 yards back.
So really this becomes now an issue of placement is what the officials coordinators are working on.
Yeah.
Well, while we get to the official call from the referees here on the replay and the subsequent penalty that's going to come from the holding, let's go ahead and take a look at some other stuff that's been going on in the Sun Belt Conference in a second, but the referees actually have broken huddle. Let's hear what they have to say. All right, so we will stay with the action again. Kind of an interesting choice to go ahead and review that because, again, the touchdown won't stand regardless.
Yeah, nonetheless, 10-yard penalty. So that's to repeat the second down.
And they'll bring out the exact same offensive unit. Tyrese Nick, the quarterback, the team, and Datron James in the backfield. It appears we saw a jump, but the referees will not throw a flag.
And once again, that was Traver Villum.
Run up the gut. Almost nothing doing. And I'll say this for the Georgia Southern defense, Danny. They've been beat to the outside only a small handful of times, but up the middle, they've been able to make the tackle pretty much every time. This is not a good sign. Jay Bowdry limping off the field for Georgia Southern.
Not a good look right there. Bowdry, a key player on the defense.
Third down and 4 yards to go. They've had good luck on this drive with read options. Been a nice long drive for the Bulldogs. And they'll run the exact same thing here. Nick cuts back, dives forward. I think he was still a yard or two short.
He was trying to cut past two Eagle defenders, but ran right into Monquavian Brinson, able to stop him. So now I believe the Bulldogs will be just short of the first.
Yeah, but this is the kind of time you go for it. It's game one. You're already down a couple of touchdowns. Field goal's not going to do anything for you here. Might as well use this as learning experience, and that's what the Bulldogs of South Carolina State will do. 4th down and 1 from inside the 10. Nick will give up the middle. Datron James chugging forward like a freight train, but the Georgia Southern defense stops him short of the goal line. It will be a first down, but not a touchdown, as Tamarcio Reese was the one to bring him to the ground.
Well, you try to go for one of two things, or possibly both, getting the first down and the touchdown. The Bulldogs were able to achieve one of those two things. So a frustrated downs and more opportunities to score.
So the Bulldogs will break huddle pretty quickly here. First down and goal from the 2-yard line. They've got a couple of chances. Datron James in the backfield and Austin Ruger, the tight end, moves in motion. On first down, it is James. He chugs forward, and again he is stopped just short of the goal line as he was lifted up in the air by C.J. Wright, the true freshman.
Scott Sloan has to be very impressed and very happy about the way his defense has been able to stop South Carolina State here.
The defense has forced quite a few turnovers tonight that have turned back into points on offense. Getting a stop here would be the icing on the cake for the first-year defensive coordinator. Nick on the keeper along the outside. He's got some blocking. He spins forward and into the end zone. And toward the end of the third quarter, the South are finally on the board.
Well, it's positive momentum for the Bulldogs. For a second there, like the Eagles were going to make another stop. You see Nick having to cut back inside, getting past 3 Eagles. Getting the end zone for the touchdown.
Dylan Bredson in to attempt the PAT for SC State. That kick is blocked by Georgia Southern. It is live on the turf. And what a play by the special teams unit. Complete football, offense, defense, and special teams for the Georgia Southern Eagles. They'll get the ball back with a 23-6 lead toward the end of the third quarter after this. Home stretch of the third quarter here on ESPN Plus of the first game of the 2018 college football season for both the Bulldogs and the Eagles. 23-6 now our score, Danny, after the Bulldogs finally punch it in for the first time this year.
And some would say that South Carolina State may be out of this game, but there's still a whole other quarter left to play. And if they can go for more drives and get some more scores, they may be right back in this one.
And the kick is away. Taken from inside the 10-yard line. Here comes John Wesley Kennedy, the former Benedictine Military School cadet. He's up to the 40-yard line. And another great return, Danny. He has been so impressive. We'll talk about him and more after the quick break in the Eagles offense. Right back. Well, after another excellent kick return, Georgia Southern returns to the field with number 12, Wes Kennedy, with them. And Danny, man, has he been a great impact player tonight to begin his sophomore season.
Well, to say at the top of the broadcast, Wesley Kennedy can make people miss, and he can, if you give the ball to him in space, he's able to make some big plays.
Demarius Barton in motion, and to close out the third quarter, they give it again to Wesley Fields, but he's taken down to the backfield for a loss.
It was stopped by Cordell Brown and Kendrick Gathers, a senior from Columbia, South Carolina. We haven't seen much of Gathers in this game. He was a player that we mentioned to look out for South Carolina State. He was the leading tackler after the top 3 tacklers all graduated, including the MEAC Defensive Player of the Year from last season.
Second down and 11 yards. And they'll give it for the first time this year to Logan Wright, the redshirt freshman running back. He powers ahead for a short gain. Earned the number 3 running back spot in camp, and that is because he is the sturdiest back in their stable. And Danny, they're kind of counting on him to be the power running back of the future for them.
He was very surprising during training camp. Has that physical toughness. He's good with his assignments and knowing what to do, and also has great speed to go at that power. At 6 foot, 225 pounds.
And that'll be the end of the third quarter. Eagles on top 23-6. 3 down, 1 to go. The finale after the break on ESPN Plus. Stay here. And we are back with Sun Belt Conference football on ESPN Plus. Let's take a look at scores from around the league briefly. Danny, App State had Penn State on the ropes, but the Nittany Lions pull it out over the Mountaineers in overtime.
And on the anniversary back in 07, where App State was able to upset Michigan, almost another Big Ten upset.
Eagles back on 3rd down and 8. Dump it over the middle. That's a complete pass to Wesley Fields. He's up to the opposing 45, and a first down for the Eagles. And a gain of more than 10 yards as Jalen Evans brought him down.
That's one play we haven't seen from the Eagle offense. Everyone else on the defense was so concerned on the wide receiving core and on Shy Werts. Wesley Fields was able to get a curl right about 10 yards, had plenty of space to get extra yardage as well for the first down.
Well, I'll say this game for Southern is not done yet. Another touchdown would certainly help. Only 1 touchdown from the Eagles so far here in the second half. That was a short run up the middle from Wesley Fields to make it 23-6. Shy Werts brought down in the backfield for a huge loss by Chad Gilchrist, the sophomore linebacker who came around the outside.
You see Shy Werts shaking his head. That was a play that was broken up It was not effective for the Eagles. Good stop by the Bulldogs.
But again, in case you're just joining us, Shai Werts, the quarterback, has been far and away the leading runner for the Eagles. 124 yards on the ground and a rushing touchdown. The next leading runner is Wesley Fields, who only has 33 yards. So he has triple, actually almost quadrupled up the next leading rusher on this Eagle team. That was a broken play, a snap he wasn't expecting. He'll pitch it along the outside to Logan Wright, and the redshirt freshman jumps ahead for a short gain that'll still bring up 3rd down and long.
And Werts was surprised on the snap right there. Didn't have time to react. Was able to flip it out to Logan Wright.
But we talked about him, Danny, right before the break. He's going to be their power back of the future. He's a big guy, 6 foot, 225 pounds, out of Jacksonville.
And what a good opportunity for Logan Wright, and also for Grant Walker and Matt LaRoche. These are 3 running backs, all redshirt freshmen, looking to lead the running game for Georgia Southern in the future.
So going to be 3rd down and 9 yards for the Eagles as they split Colby Ransom out to the bottom of your screen. As Shai Werts will look to throw. Instead, he'll tuck it and run on 3rd down. He stays in bounds on his feet to the 30-yard line. A gain of 15 yards and a 1st down. The quarterback is their MVP tonight without doubt.
Before a second there on the play, Werts had plenty of time in the pocket, scrambles outside, was telling Obi Fortune to go deep, but Fortune slipped up a little bit. So instead, Werts keeps himself, breaks off a tackle, able to stay in bounds and get all the way up to the 30. Also a holding call on the South Carolina State defense. That'll be on Lane Jones, the junior from Westminster, South Carolina.
For what it's worth, the Eagles have not thrown much tonight because that's traditionally how they work. 5 for 7 through the air. The passes so far completed to Ransom, Fields, Kennedy, and Richardson. So a new 1st down and 10 for the Eagles. Werts trying to retake that extra touchdown lead. Up the middle they go to Monteo Garrett, the home run hitter. He's down inside the 10 and nearly had 6.
And I promise you, Greg, every time Monteo Garrett gets the ball, he's almost able to break away for a big play. There on that time, he was tiptoeing his way towards the end zone, couldn't keep up with his balance. They would have break 1-2 tackles and then was making his way towards the ground and eventually brought down by Jalen Evans.
1st down and goal now from the 9-yard line. The 2 leading rushers in the backfield. They have Field and Garrett. They could go either way. Instead, they'll let the quarterback keep it. Shai Werts stays on his feet, trying to do it all himself. Instead, he is dropped for a 2-yard loss on the play by Jalen Evans.
Werts did his best to keep the play alive, but wasn't able to get any yardage.
Evans has done a great job. He's a true freshman. He's kind of been in the backfield a lot tonight.
Yeah, he made some good tackles, and that would be the confidence for some of these redshirt freshmen for South Carolina State heading into the later parts of this season. Of course, it's game 1, so there are some things that you may not be able to get done or be able to execute in that first.
Eagles just looking to score again here as they split Ransom out to the bottom of your screen. Wes Kennedy working in the slot. Absolutely nothing doing on that play as Jared Jones brought him down, the junior linebacker. So that'll bring up 3rd down and maybe a passing situation, although they've only gone to the air 7 times tonight. Got to think they'll go up the middle again and try to run this ball, though.
It is possible. 3rd and goal. You may see Shai Werts possibly go for a passing play here. Trying to get in the end zone. As you see right here in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, Georgia Southern now 5 for 10 in 3rd down conversions.
And here they come. 1 wide receiver split out to each side. And they'll run the option. And there's Werts. The quarterback has his 2nd keeper touchdown of the night. And that's now 145 yards rushing.
Shai Werts had plenty of space right there. Good blocking once again. Was able to get past Jaden Brunson and takes it to the house. Another score for the Eagles.
On the move, the PAT unit over. Tyler Bass will be the one to kick it through again. This will make it 30-6 Eagles. And Bass does just that. They get the touchdown back after surrendering one. And Shiwards is off to a red-hot start to the 2018 season here in Statesboro. The Chad Lunsford era is off to a red-hot offensive and defensive start. And as we begin to head down the stretch of the fourth quarter, Georgia Southern now a 30-6 lead over the South Carolina State Bulldogs. And Danny, Chad's got to be happy with a lot of facets of the game tonight, but number one has to be his quarterback, Shiwards.
Yeah, he said it was going to be the Shiwards show, and it's been so far. 21 carries, 149 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. He has been the driving force for Georgia Southern in this home opener.
But of course, Chad being Chad, he always finds things for his team to improve on. So Danny, based on what we've seen so far, what can improve based off this performance?
I would say the offense can improve a little bit more. I understand they only have 30% of the offensive playbook in so far, is what Coach Bob the Best said. The defense has done a tremendous job getting turnovers. Could have been 3 if the fumble got overturned. But the defense has done a great job in keeping South Carolina State from scoring. But once you face these Sun Belt Conference opponents, the offense has to tighten up just a little bit.
So Tayshawn Baines back to receive once again for the Bulldogs. He's been a very effective weapon of theirs tonight. But Tyler Bass puts a boot into this one, and Baines is not going to get a chance to run it back. So the Bulldogs will take it from the 20-yard line. And although they did finally on their last drive punch in their first touchdown of the game and of the season, you still have to think that they are a little bit discouraged because, boy, we entered this game, Danny, saying the Georgia Southern defensive unit needed to be an absolute brick house, and by and large it has been.
Yeah, they've done a great job. Like you said earlier, it's almost like this 3-4 defense has been used for years, the way they were able to get it down pat here in this first game.
Yeah, I would never know this is the first time they've run it as a team in live game action. I'd never know.
And speaking with Scott Sloan, he said this would be more of a quick defense than a strong defense, and you've seen that with them able to get tackles and make stops.
Tyrese Nick into QB. This team, that is a give. Man off the outside as looks like a glove comes flying out for a gain of maybe 1 yard.
Either a glove or a protective cover. But just like that, the defensive line is able to make it hard for the offensive line to figure out who to block. Because normally offensive lines are used to going up against a 4-3 scheme, but instead of a 3-4.
But really the impressive thing about this Georgia Southern defense now running the 3-4 is how well they are able to plug holes even with just 3 down linemen on most plays. Second down and 9, and Nick will look to throw. They haven't had a lot of luck tonight, and you can see why. He throws right behind Rodriguez Thomas, and that'll bring up 3rd and long.
Redshirt freshman from Anderson, South Carolina, not able to get the pass. Bit of a bad throw by Tyrese Nick under pressure. Now we have a man down for South Carolina State. And a flag has also been thrown. I'm sorry, just an injured player.
We've been very fortunate tonight watching this game that we have not seen very many injuries, if any, really on the field. That is Caleb Kelly, a offensive lineman for South Carolina State who is currently down. He's the center. And we'll take a break, and hopefully he's all right. We'll have an update on that after this on ESPN+. Coming back to a 3rd down and 9 here on ESPN+. South Carolina State on offense after a quick injury timeout. Tyrese Nick will throw to the far side. A complete pass to DeMontez Burrows, their leading receiver from last year. He's got a 1st down for them, and that'll move the chains. One quick correction as well. It was my mistake before the break. It was Michael Terry, the offensive lineman, who went down for South Carolina State. But, Danny, as we looked at the roster for the Bulldogs, there's so many connections between these two teams.
Yeah, well, a majority of the players from South Carolina, a couple of them are from Georgia. Michael Terry went to the same high school as Malik Murray, the redshirt freshman for the Eagles at Peachtree Ridge.
Coming in to make the tackle that time, Rashad Bird. Loss on the play. Call it a loss of 2 yards. That'll bring up 2nd and long.
And Bird has been very effective on the defensive side for Georgia Southern throughout this game, has made a lot of key tackles. You got to give credit for South Carolina State for DeMontez Burrows making that catch for the first down. It's been the first catch, I believe it was the second completion we've seen all game on these Bulldog offense.
Yeah, South Carolina State through the air, only 2 for 9 for a total 31 yards. Sending Vereen in motion. He's been their favorite intended target tonight. That ball, a terrible snap on the turf, although Nick's able to recover it. He's not going to get to the edge after Hurdle gets back to the original line of scrimmage before he is chased out of bounds by Randy Wade Jr.
Well, I appreciate the effort from Tyrese Nick trying to avoid getting hit. He was able to avoid a couple of tackles, hurdle over one defender, and made 2 Eagle defenders hit themselves while he went out of bounds.
Really pretty amazing that he was able to get back to the line of scrimmage at all.
Yeah.
So 3rd down and 12 coming up here for SC State. Hoping to draw the Eagles off sides, and no such luck. Whistles down on the field. It looks like we might get a timeout call here. And we're going to, as South Carolina State burns their first timeout here in the second half. So they're going to be staring down the barrel of a 3rd down and 12, and probably another long passing play after this timeout. Well, it's been a really interesting night of college football across the Sun Belt Conference. We saw it briefly earlier. We didn't see any huge upsets necessarily, though, although Danny, we saw one that came pretty darn close.
Yeah, Appalachian State sending Penn State to overtime. They had to leave about a minute or so left to go in the game, 38-31. Penn State was able to score to tie it up. They go to overtime. Penn State scores the first touchdown. App State throws an interception in the end zone to end the game. But what momentum you have to have taking a Power 5 team to the limits, that says wonders about how your season could potentially be. And Appalachian State joining the Sun Belt Conference with Georgia Southern back in 2014.
3rd down and 12 for the Bulldogs. Nick will look to throw again, although he's got absolutely no protection. He's going to run out of bounds and not risk interception. That'll bring up 4th down. And quickly, before we move on to the next topic, I do want to say about App State, not the favorites to even win the division necessarily this year. That belongs to Troy, because App State just lost a 4-year starting quarterback in Lamb. The fact that they're able to take Penn State, a Big Ten team that was in the conversation for the college football playoff last year, to overtime with a new sophomore quarterback, that's pretty amazing.
It's deja vu from 2007 when Michigan was the favorite to be BCS champion, entered the season 5th in the nation, but then were upset in the first week.
That kick is away. Wes Kennedy back to receive, although he won't have a chance. It is a short kick down to the 31 or 32 yard line, and it'll be good field position for Georgia Southern. And Danny, not a huge surprise to see that we're going to see these Georgia Southern first teamers stay in this game likely until the bitter end. You and I talked to Chad Lunsford earlier this week, and when we said, hey, Coach, what are you going to do if this game becomes a blowout? He said, we were a 2-10 team last year. We have a lot of this offense left to learn. We're going to keep our guys in and treat this game like the Super Bowl.
Yeah, wise decision there. They want to make sure they get things down packed for this season.
1st and 10, they send Bargnair in motion. Up the middle they go with some space. This is Matt LaRoche getting his first touch of the season. He's across the 50 down to the opposing 35-yard line for the true freshman from Venice, Florida.
And we talked about how Matt LaRoche, Grant Walker, and Logan Wright would be the future for Georgia Southern's running game. And what a great run by LaRoche, able to keep the defensive players off their toes.
This is his first college game, and that was his first college touch. What a great way to begin.
He's still in the backfield. He may be looking at more.
On 1st down, Bargnair in motion again. And again, they'll go back to LaRoche. Follows his blocks, able to turn nothing into something, and a gain of almost 5 yards. And not a huge surprise to see that he's doing well. He's another one of these true freshmen on the Eagles. He was the Class 7A Player of the Year in Florida last year.
Wow. And I know we talked about how Chad Lunsford said they're going to keep their starters in this game, but taking Wesley Fields out may be a smart decision right now, as it was his first game back after a shoulder surgery, and this is his first time actually getting reps in full pads.
Yeah, everybody else appears to be staying in, though, for the Eagles on offense. 2nd and 5. This is going to be Wirtz on the keeper, and he'll pitch it out. This is Logan Wright, the number 3 running back. He's got a first down toward the 15-yard line. And, Danny, I've been very impressed tonight with the non-first teamers.
Yeah, Logan Wright, Monteo Garrett, and even Matt LaRose, like we saw play go, have been doing wonders on the field for the Eagles. And even Cam Brown, the redshirt freshman tight end, coming in right now. Made some great blocks throughout this game.
So 1st down and 10 for the Eagles. They got to get down to the 5 to move the chains. And on first, they'll keep it on the ground. Once again, they go to LaRoche, but this time he's wrapped up in the backfield, and a great tackle made by Bruce Johnson. Good closing speed along the outside, and you know, it was interesting, Danny, the first couple drives, South Carolina State so patient against the Eagle reads, forced punts. Really, after the first couple drives, the Eagles figured out how to trick them and move the ball down the field pretty well.
And they made some great adjustments at halftime, and they've been able to execute here in the running game.
2nd and long. Wirtz on the keeper. He'll stay on his feet. One more block, and he's into the end zone. Shai Wirtz begins the 2018 season with 3 rushing touchdowns. This quarterback is running this team.
Great job by Shai Wirtz, able to trust his offensive line and his blockers, was able to break a couple of tackles and pummel his way into the end zone. 3 rushing touchdowns, over 150 yards rushing as well for the night.
This would make it 37-6 for Georgia Southern as Bass comes in to kick it away. That one is through. Shai Wirtz, 163 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. And the Eagles are running away with it as we head down the home stretch. Well, the Eagles have run away with this one in the second half. Georgia Southern 37 and South Carolina State 6 here from Paulson Stadium in Statesboro. And South Carolina State might have their final offensive touch of the night coming up here. No way to know, but I'll say, Danny, complete football tonight played by this Georgia Southern team as Bass kicks it away. Won't run this one out. Nearly a field goal. And SC State will take it from the 20. What's impressed you the most? Because there are a lot of options to choose from.
I think it's been the defense that's impressed me the most. You know, the question was how the defense was going to adapt to the 3-4 defensive style by Scott Sloan, and they've done tremendously well. And also, I've been excited to see how Shai Wirtz has been able to break out and have a great game of his own. Like you said, over 160 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns. He was uncomfortable in the spring with the new gun pistol option, but you can tell he has took charge here in his first game of the season.
All right, so here comes South Carolina State again, and fact of the matter is they've had a really hard time getting any offensive flow at all going tonight, which is why they'll go for a new quarterback. That was the first time tonight we've seen the true freshman Corey Fields. That pass inaccurate. That'll bring up 2nd down and 10 yards. But I'm interested to see what he does here in garbage time, Danny, because this kid is a true freshman, and they say he's got the best arm of any of the 3 quarterbacks. He might already be the most complete quarterback, they say, and if he's not the starter by the end of this year, he certainly will be soon enough.
Yeah, there's no pressure for him right now to start, but in this period right now when the Bulldogs are down by 31, doesn't hurt to get him in and get a couple of plays.
2nd down and 10 for the true freshman running this offense. This will be fun to see him work. Give it up the middle and almost nothing doing that time. That'll bring up 3rd down and long. The defensive players on the outside, the secondary, the corners, the safeties, the linebackers, Danny, they've been everywhere.
Yeah, this 3-4 defense has been amazing for them in this game. Everybody has been involved. They've been able to stop runs.
It's been a real anchor, and the best part about this for Southern is that when the defense forced turnovers, offense is able to march down the field and score again. That's exactly what you want if you're Chad Lunsford. As the Bulldogs now face 3rd and 8. Fields wanted to let it rip. It's on the turf. He recovered his own fumble. Gets hit as he goes down. Gained maybe a yard on the play, but that'll still bring up 4th down.
Well, he was hit on the throw, so it was behind his shoulder, so it was a fumble. Somehow he was able to recover it. Didn't get much. I believe he didn't get hit. I think the ball just went out of his hand funny.
And they'll bring out their punt unit. Good to see Wes Kennedy for likely one more time tonight for Georgia Southern. And I would say, Danny, really, if you're talking about offensive players that have stood out outside of Shai Werts, Wes Kennedy's versatility has been pretty awe-inspiring as he gets ready to return this kick. Wave a fair catch, 39-yard line.
Well, he was very effective more so on special teams, on the kick returns and on the punt returns. He had a couple of opportunities on offense, but you give him some space, he's able to work, make guys miss. And he's been able to rack up a solid amount of yards here in the first game of the season. And for South Carolina State, they have to travel to Orlando, Florida next week as they take on what some would say, a lot of people in UCF would say, the defending national champions. While Georgia Southern has a tough home contest next Saturday in Paulson against UMass.
1st down and 10 for Shai Werts in this offense. There it is, not Shai Werts. This is LeBaron Anthony quarterbacking this team as we will now see a couple backups into this game for the Eagles. Carry that time to Grant Walker, the redshirt freshman out of Cedar Grove. Was a 3-star recruit coming out of high school, and this is a kid people are very high on, Danny.
Yeah, Grant Walker, redshirt freshman from Ellenwood, and also a good opportunity to see LeBaron Anthony, the redshirt senior from Hinesville, Georgia. Had a few rushing attempts last year. Took 10 passes, only completed 1. Good time for him to get some work in.
2nd and 6. He'll turn and give it up the gut to Walker. Powers ahead, 48-yard line. If he didn't get the 1st down, he's going to be just inches short. But while we have the audience here, Danny, I want to make a pitch for why next week's game for Georgia Southern is so unbelievably crucial. Last year, that 50-22 loss to UMass was the straw that broke the camel's back for the previous administration, which is why they moved on to the Chad Lunsford era. I will say, UMass last week hung more than 60 points on Duquesne. This is a high-flying, high-scoring offense. After seeing how well this defense for the Eagles did tonight, I cannot wait to see what they do next week against the Minutemen. As it's 3rd down and 1, they give it to Walker, and he's got the 1st down.
And the difference this week and next week for Georgia Southern, the 3-4, you see them rush, send a guy or two and blitz. You're going to be focusing on more zone plays and stopping the slot receivers and wide receivers more so than trying to rush and pressure the quarterback. It will be a tough contest to see how Georgia Southern answers back because they have a sour taste in their mouth from last season.
And really, because after that week is Clemson, then you're into conference play against the team that is expected to win the Sun Belt Conference, Arkansas State. As they hand it off to Walker again, not much doing. That'll bring up one last play of the game. Next week against UMass for the Eagles is truly the only real barometer game they have until they begin Sun Belt Conference play. If you really want to know what this Eagle team is going to look like early in the season against the only truly similar opponent they will see, this game against UMass is the one you need to watch.
Yeah, it's going to be a big fight feel here in Paulson next Saturday night.
2nd down and 8. Anthony up the middle to Walker again. Falls forward, gain of 2 yards, and that'll do it. And it'll end week 1 of the college football season here in the Nat capital of America. Georgia Southern 37, South Carolina State 6. Danny, complete football tonight from the Eagles.
A great way to kick off the Chad Lunford era with a win like this. Offense did well, defense did tremendous, but Shai Werts, player of the game, 160 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. Well, now we'll see what Georgia Southern can do as they prepare now for UMass next weekend. A
brutal test against the Minutemen awaits. But what a great night it was here in Statesboro. Eagles win 37-6. So for Danny Waugh, I'm Greg Talbot saying so long. All gears airing on the ESPN networks are streaming live and are archived on the ESPN app. This has been a proud presentation of ESPN.